We got some big news yesterday from Nintendo during their financials that the Switch is officially going to be entering retirement. So in this video, I'm going to break down the news, what that means for the Switch, and what that means for the future of Nintendo and the Switch 2. So let's start first with the news. The Switch is officially going to be entering retirement. So does that mean that the Switch is going to be pulled off shelves tomorrow, that there's no new games coming out? Not exactly. There's still going to be new games, there's games in the pipeline. The Switch isn't going to be pulled off shelves immediately, but Nintendo has said that the wheels are in motion, the train is moving, and the Switch is going to be retired. So over time, we're going to start seeing less games coming out, less games being announced on the system, and eventually the official retirement and the console will be pulled off shelves. So Nintendo said that they're going to be doing this to shift development, to shift resources onto the Switch 2. They want to put everything they've got behind the Switch 2, and that makes perfect sense. The Switch has been around now for 7 years. It did great things for Nintendo, one of the best consoles, one of the best selling consoles of all time, with around or over 150 million units sold, and so many great memories with the Switch. Let's not forget that Nintendo was in a bit of a rough spot before the Switch was released with the Wii U, but man, when they came out with this, it changed gaming, revitalized Nintendo, and really set them on the new path to success that they're on now. Not to say they weren't doing great before, but they're at new heights that they've never seen. And it's a little bit bittersweet to see the Switch go because so many great games on the console, so many great memories. And I pulled a few off my shelf to talk about, just to remember some of the good times. I got Octopath Traveler 2, one of my favorite RPGs on the Switch. We've got Mario 3D All-Stars. I was so happy when this game came out to be able to, replay some of my childhood favorites. Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, so just classics on this. And the Switch had so many classics come out like that. We had Link's Awakening. Everybody talks about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but Link's Awakening, this remake or remaster, was really one of the best Zelda releases on the Switch. And let me say, plays even better on the Switch 2. Let's see, we got Mario Odyssey, one of the system sellers, one of the best Mario games of all time, and just another classic. And I think a lot of people's Switch memories are going to come back to this game because it was one of the first games a lot of people played, including myself. So just so many great memories with Mario Odyssey. Next up, we got Breath of the Wild. Again, another system seller. I got the Master Edition here in the background. But Breath of the Wild was just one of the best Zeldas. I personally like this more than Tears of the Kingdom. But to each their own, a lot of great memories with this game, and some moments in here I'll never forget. And last but not least, Astral Chain, a Switch exclusive, a game that I think a good amount of people have overlooked, might not have played, by Platinum Games. So if you've never played Astral Chain, definitely check it out. Great game to have and play on the Switch. So the list just goes on and on. What made the Switch such a great console in my opinion was the library of games. The hardware, the specs of the Switch console wasn't groundbreaking, but the library of games was just so amazing, so many good games. And I think that's what's gonna be remembered, what's gonna stand out the most with the console. And so happy to see that the Switch 2 is a perfect successor to the Switch 1 with the better graphics, backwards compatibility, etc, etc. So we're gonna see the Switch 1 live on in the Switch 2. Now, some other interesting news Nintendo talked about in their financials call was that about 84–85% of Switch 2 buyers were Switch 1 owners. So what that means is that they're seeing great adoption to the Switch 2 from the Switch 1. So I know Nintendo's happy to see that, and that's a little bit interesting to me because there was a lot of controversy around the Switch 2 with the price of the console, with the increased price of the games, as well as with the game key cards. And I gotta say that I share those same sentiments with a lot of people, but it doesn't seem to have hurt the Switch 2 at all. In fact, the Switch 2 is officially one of the best and fastest selling consoles of all time. So I believe they sold over 10 million units in the first 3+ months of release, which was a record for any console. So it's kind of interesting to see all that negativity surrounding the cost of the Switch and the increase in price of the games and the game key cards. But it doesn't seem to have hurt the Switch 2 at all. In fact, the Switch 2 is on fire, and it just seems like a train without brakes, speeding up, going on, and only seems to be doing better. So I'm happy to see that. I'm a big fan of the Switch 2. Not a big fan of the prices, but I can get around that because I don't need to buy games brand new. I can wait till the prices drop or buy them used. And the console itself, I think, is well worth it. Just such a great upgrade from the original Switch. So we'll see. I hope Nintendo does come around and drop prices and make improvements, but it is what it is. It doesn't seem to be hurting the Switch 2 at all. So now let's talk a bit about what the retirement of the Switch 1 means for the Switch 2. And what that really means is that more resources, more money, more effort is going to be going into the Switch 2, into the software, into the games. And I think that's exactly what the Switch 2 needs right now, because let's be honest, there just isn't that many games for the Switch 2. I picked up Donkey Kong Bonanza, and besides that, besides Mario Kart World, I really haven't played much else on the Switch 2. I'm mainly using it to run through my Switch backlog. And I got a lot of games in the Switch backlog, so I don't mind. I'm happy to play them on the superior Switch 2 console, but we really need some new games. I mean, the launch lineup for the Switch 2 was lacking severely in my opinion. Mario Kart World was good, but I don't think personally it lived up to the hype. And again, we really need some new games. So with the Switch 1 coming to a close, walking off into the sunset, undefeated, one of the best consoles of all time, I really want to see the Switch 2 momentum pick up, new games come out, more games come out. We need to start getting a Switch 2 backlog. Nintendo really needs to put a fire under the Switch 2 now and start dropping games, because they've sold a lot of consoles, and I think a lot of people are just waiting, anticipating, hoping for more games to come. So I'm happy to see that. Let's see what happens with the Switch 2 moving forward. So that's it. Again, to summarize, the Switch 1 is entering retirement. It won't be around for long. So definitely, cherish these last days of the Switch. Remember some good times, but it's time to focus on the Switch 2. And that's where I think all Nintendo's energy needs to be. So leave some comments below. Let me know some of your favorite memories from the Switch, some of your favorite games. And let me know if you picked up a Switch 2. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day.